Right now, alongside your host, James Brown, that being me, is Trevent Hayes, the Caverna Colonels football coach, here to talk to us today about the Caverna Colonels. You know, we've covering the gambit of the schools that we really cover on 104 The Score, and so we had John Myers in a couple of weeks ago, Jeff Garman in last week, that's Barron County and Glasgow, and then Trevent was unable to make it last week. Originally you were going to be on, but so you were here this week to tell us about the Colonels. And pre-game, so to speak, for the show, you and I were discussing some of these preseason rankings that we've seen.
Yes.
And so I'm sure you have an opinion, both as a coach and as a fan of Caverna. But because I've been kind of amazed because in a couple of different rankings we've seen Russellville placed ahead of Caverna, and you guys beat them last year. It was a wild game. I mean, you guys, I think, led the whole game except for maybe like in a little bit in the first half.
First quarter, yeah.
First quarter. Mm-hmm. But, you know, in the end, I mean, you guys were up by 20 at different times. Yeah, it got a little crazy toward the finish line there. But you basically had a sophomore class leading your team.
Right.
And some of their better players were older players. Now, I know they had some good younger players as well. So I've been a little bit surprised by that preseason ranking. And then my question for you is, not you necessarily what you thought about it, but have your players seen this, and has that provided a little motivation for them?
It has. They, of course, when Cat's Paws came out, they all were anxious to see where they was going to have us ranked. And once they saw that they had us predicted to win the district,
yeah,
like a couple of days later, they saw on Max Preps that Max Preps had us ranked number 20 and Russellville 18, and they couldn't quite understand, you know, how can we win the district? And in order to win the district, usually the winner of this game is going to win the district. And
yeah.
They just, you know, they kind of felt like they didn't think that, you know, the sports writers didn't think we were going to beat anybody but the teams in the district.
Right.
So they've kind of used it as a little motivation.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, I mean, you basically had a team of sophomores, and, I mean, you lost 2 or 3, I think, players that were probably critical to you guys, but, I mean, you're looking at the guys coming back and some people who have been added probably who have decided to come out and play, because that was one of the things last year was getting your numbers up. And so, you know, how has that looked for you this year?
It's, you know, we at one time we had 29 kids out. Then, of course, you know, you always have some to fall off by the wayside. But we've really went hard with the 23 that's been there.
Yeah.
At 24, Tavion Alexander actually had a knee injury. He had surgery last Friday, so he's out for the season. But I talked to some kids on Thursday, and you know, we're supposedly going to have 3 more kids come to practice today. You know, I know a lot of coaches tell me, well, I wouldn't let it happen, but you also have more than 56 boys to choose from in the school, you know.
Yeah.
So we're not fortunate to have numbers, so, you know, I have to be a little lenient with that. But, you know, if the 3 that said they were going to play comes out, it's only going to add. But if they don't, I still think we're going to be 7-3 team.
Yeah. Well, and you guys started school, on Thursday? Is that
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, traditionally, that's the way high school football would work a lot. You might get some people who would show up after school started or when
It was
school
like that
started.
when I played.
Yeah, because, I mean, they had things to do during the summer. Work on the farm, have a job, whatever like that.
Yep.
Transportation, they couldn't get to practice or whatever. So, I mean, you know, the fact that you even get as many as you do out there in those before-school workouts is pretty impressive anyway.
It is.
So, you know, I'm with you on the if 3 want to come and play, you know, I'm guessing they're going to have to do their time and then
Yeah,
see how
12
they
want to
fit in.
come. Yeah, come on. You know, they just have a number of practices that they have to, you know, get in, and then they've got to have so many days before they can put equipment on. And
Yeah.
but we'll go through that, even if I have to pick up some Saturday practices, some 2-a-day Saturday practices, get those practices in.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the players you had returning. Obviously, you have the twins, Tyson and Kenyon. Russell Williams, who played quarterback some last year, played wide receiver some last year. And you're kind of making some changes there, too, because you have Cortavian Maxey, who young guy, athletic kid, but probably was just kind of learning how to play football last year, because I don't know if he played with them in the middle school.
He's played with them the whole time.
Okay.
Probably the best route runner that we have. Cortavion's really never liked contact. But, I talked to him this summer and told him, hey, and this is before we knew who was going to play and who wasn't going to play. I just felt like if I could transition him to quarterback, he's 6'4". He can see over the line. He has a great arm. Just told him, hey, if you could learn the quarterback position, it's only going to make us better. And he's been going to get some training. Chris Todd up at Elizabethtown has been working with him for a couple of months now. And, he's starting to really get comfortable at quarterback. He's very athletic. He's just as athletic as the twins and Russell. And then last Saturday we scrimmaged at Boiling Springs, and, it didn't start off well, but after the first little series, I think he ended up with maybe 90 yards rushing and a couple of touchdown passes, and his confidence got a little better, and he's feeling a little bit better about playing the position.
Yeah. Well, and Tyson, of course, he led the 1A in rushing last year. Just had a couple of just incredible.
And scoring. Yeah.
That's right. So, he's no mystery whatsoever.
Right.
But are you also then trying to look at using him in different ways now that you got Cortavia
Actually, we're gonna be able to have him and Kenyon both at the wings together. Okay. And Kenyon has more than put in his work over the summer. So teams are not going to be able to tell. In the past, you could tell the difference by the way they play, but now you can't tell a difference because Kenyon runs it just as hard as Tyson does.
Yeah, so they're going to have to check the numbers, huh?
They're going to have to look at the numbers, right.
Well, so then how does that leave you with wide receiver? Who are you looking at in those
Russell
areas?
Williams. We're going to run a lot of sets without a tight end. So Russell's 6'5", so you're not going to have very many corners over 5'10".
Yeah.
So I really like that matchup. But the surprise that we have is Caleb Burris. He's a junior. Caleb is probably the most elusive kid on the team. Just not a lot of experience, but he's worked hard over the summer. Had a great 7-on-7, a great scrimmage. And we're going to go to him a lot. Even with him being small, it's going to be hard, to get him the ball downfield.
Yeah.
But we've created some things to get him the ball and in the open field and let him have one-on-ones. And I like that matchup as well. I don't think there's too many people that can, tackle him in open space.
Yeah. Now, last year, one of the things you were having to do was basically piece together an offensive line because, that was one of the areas you didn't have a lot of players. You didn't have a lot of experience with those players, but that was one of the places you were hoping to find some people who were interested in coming and playing.
Right.
How's that worked out?
Well, we got Christmas early or late.
Yeah.
We had a kid move in, Cortavion Fryer, just a big, strong, athletic kid. He's fast.
Yeah.
He's definitely a college defensive lineman, but on the offensive side of the ball, he's helping us a lot. And last year we had to play Keaton Williams on the line, who was our fullback.
Yeah.
He's going to play fullback and play that tight end spot when we have a tight end. And he was not healthy all year last year. So that's the reason we transitioned him to the line, kind of keep him in a small space. But Drew Murrell's a senior. Drew's put in a lot of work. Our line, I'm actually more impressed with our line than I am with any group on the team.
Yeah.
They've really, really worked hard this summer. They've worked hard in the weight room. They condition. Last year if we ran 10 gassers, Drew was ready to beat me up after the third one. But now, now he's not last anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it's the energy that Big Tay has brought with him. They want to get to his level.
Yeah. And then I guess some of those guys are going to transition to the defensive line as well. I guess Fryer definitely will because he's a pretty tough dude to block.
He is. He's going to play. He's actually going to play an end for us.
Okay.
He and Kenyon are going to play ends. Zandon Korn, who had a great season last year, just doesn't get talked about a lot because he's a lineman.
Yeah.
Zandon Korn, and then we've got Z. Zedrick Drawhorn, we call him Z. We're going to move him and Jacob Richardson to the linebacker spots, which allows them to stand up. And both of those guys are really aggressive. And who else? Not only on the line, but we had another kid move in from Bowling Green. His name's Jamarion Moore. Very athletic kid. He's about 6 foot. He's pretty quick, and he's going to play that safety and corner for us. So I'm really looking forward to our defense too. I think we're going to have one of the fastest fronts, regardless of class in the area.
Well, and back to talking about your district. When you look at your district, Fulton County has struggled in recent years. Ballard Memorial struggled in recent years. So it really is that kind of Russellville-Caverna game again, more than likely,
right.
As long as nothing happens. So when you look at your district, I mean, what do you tell your players before that starts?
I'm just honestly, I tell the kids, I don't care if we're 0-6 when we go into the district. I really do care. But I just want them to know that we want to secure those district games.
Yeah.
But Russellville is Russellville. They're a traditional program. They have a really young coaching staff. They like to jump up and down, and they a lot younger than I am. Their energy's a lot different than ours.
Yeah.
But our kids, they've really found it disrespectful. And I know there's been a couple of interviews to where we're just talked over, as if we're not even in the district, and I just don't understand how they could view us like that. And we won the district last year, and we really didn't lose anybody.
Yeah.
So, I think the kids are really looking forward to repeating as district champs. They know that it's in our sights, and
would that be the first time Caverna's ever done that? If it
ever,
does it? Yeah,
yeah, because we've only won it twice.
Right.
We've only won it twice.
Back-to-back years, huh?
Yeah, won it back-to-back years.
Yeah. Well, and so, I mean, you guys start off this Friday with Muhlenberg County. It's a game up there in Muhlenberg County. Last year, I think you had
Don't say it.
You had 2 or 3 players not playing last year.
Okay, yeah. Tyson and Cortavion.
Yeah, I don't know what you thought I was about to say.
Oh, well, I know. You watched, Ray Finkel laces out? Yeah, all I've thought about for the last 2 weeks is onside kicks. They onside kicked us to death. We couldn't get on an onside kick. 22-6 was the score.
Yeah.
They scored 22 really early. And once we got settled in, we pretty much cut their offense in half.
Yeah.
But they just, those onside kicks they were terrible.
I take it you guys have worked on that a little bit this year.
Yes, we have. And I will be taking over the special teams.
All right.
That's just something, and it's all mental. And to one of the kids' defense, we had a kid that we stuck out there. It was his first year playing football.
Yeah.
And we went over it in practice, but he was nervous, and it happens. But we're a lot older team that I know it's just been a year, but I feel like we have aged 2 or 3 years between last year and this year.
Yeah. Well, and so, I mean, that's where you start off the season. And Muhlenberg County, not a traditional powerhouse, but, I mean, they kind of run an offense sometimes that can cause people problems.
They run that veer.
Yeah.
And, it's just, at the end of the day, it's 5A and single A.
Yeah,
it's a 5A school playing one of the smallest, I'd say, 6 schools in the state of Kentucky. We're not very big. So if we can come out Friday and beat them, I think that'll make a statement to let people know that, hey, last year wasn't a fluke.
Right.
I think they may be okay.
Well, and then you really kind of upgraded your schedule because that second week you play Adair County at Marion County in a bowl game over there. Of course, that team, coached by Stone Rock now, he's always a good. Stonebreaker, my bad.
Steve and I played together in college.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I told him don't wear a sweater to the game, Steve.
Okay. Yeah, Stonebreaker. I don't know why I call him Stone Rock. Anyway.
We used to call him Stone Hands.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, his son does not have stone hands.
He doesn't.
And Easton Jesse, who used to be Glasgow's quarterback, is over there now throwing the football to him. So that's going to be a real good test, I think, for you guys, don't you think?
I do. They will challenge us defensively. Mm-hmm. And we'll challenge them defensively. I don't think that they have the personnel to stop us from scoring. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't think scoring is going to be an issue for us this year. We hired a new coach, Brian Graves. He's from Westmoreland, Tennessee, coached at Westmoreland in Lafayette. And then he coached at Red Boiling Springs for a couple of years in North Carolina. I think he's been coaching for 31 years. And he's ran the wing tee the whole time. But he's came in, and in the last 2 months, he's just showed me so much that you can do out of the wing tee to kind of just catch people off balance. And I'm really looking forward to running this new style of wing tee.
Gotcha. So there you have that. Then you have Eminence, who was really good last year. That was ended up losing that game, but it was a barn burner.
We was beating them 18-0.
Yeah.
Jalen Crane gets hurt, and
Yeah.
they start throwing over the top. We kept our receipts from last year. We've got all of our receipts.
And then Edmonson County, who had a running back that you guys had a problem with last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he graduated, but that was probably one of those games that shocked you as it went along from the
It
some of
did,
the sideline.
because it's like he had oil all over his body. We couldn't tackle him.
I know.
We'd hit him in the backfield, and he'd just get away.
Yeah, that was the craziest game, to be honest. And then, Shawnee, and then, you'll play your rivals, Hart County.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, they're still going to be pretty good this year.
They are, but like I told, Chat last year, as a coach, you never want to tell your kids that you can't compete.
Mm-hmm.
And I never told them that we couldn't compete, but I knew that we would struggle competing with them. They had 16 seniors, and those kids that played together since they were in the third grade. It's hard to beat a unit like that. But I told him, next year will be different, and I feel like it will be different this year.
Yeah. And then you get in your district games, you'll play that Fulton County game before fall break,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll have that Friday off and come back with Russellville and then the Ballard Memorial, where you have to travel all the way to the Mississippi River in order to play that game.
We do. We confirmed our charter bus last week. So, I went ahead and got that lined out. I mean, that's just it's a terrible ride. It's a terrible drive. And, although they're not traditionally good, just like Fulton County, we go to Fulton County last year, and I think we ended up winning. We scored 70-some points. But, the first 2 or 3 series, we looked terrible. And, they're kids.
Yeah.
You've been on a bus for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We stopped in Aid, and, then it was fall break, and half the team was going to Gulf Shores, and everything else was on their mind. So we had to call a quick timeout and have a come to Jesus meeting and let them know that we had to do some other things before, they could go on their vacation. But, I think that we'll roll through pretty good in the district. I know Russellville's going to be competitive, but again, and we play them at home.
Mm-hmm.
And last year we averaged about 300 people at the games, which to Glasgow and Barron, that's not a lot, but for us that's a whole lot. In the past you'd have 25 people in the bleachers, but it means a lot when you're winning because people start to support you.
Yeah. And then you'll close out with Monroe County at home this year.
Mm-hmm.
They also are a team that likes to run an offense a little tricky. And John Pettit always has some play that's going to be. You just look up there and go, where did he pull that one from?
He does. And last year, it was a great game.
Yeah.
We had a couple of touchdowns caught back.
Yeah.
We had a missed coverage on a punt. The Williams kid ran it back for a touchdown. But we kept that receipt too. So we're just looking. I just hope that everybody will still support. And we're going to lose a game or two, maybe 4. But with the number of kids that we have, I think we're going to compete with everybody we play.
Well, so with that in mind, I mean, for the players and for you, I mean, have you guys had a meeting? You talked about what your ambitions are for this season.
We have, and the kids' goal is to win 10 games, and realistically, I mean, it could happen. When you've got Kenyon and Tyson Martin in the backfield, and you've got 6'5" Russell Williams playing the wide receiver, I mean, there's not a lot of defenses that can match up with that. Now, if we weren't as good on the line as we are, then it would be a little far-fetched. But I think our guys are going to give Cortavion, 2.5, 3 seconds. And if you can't get rid of it in 2.5, 3 seconds, then this is going to be a disaster anyway.
Yeah.
That's, we're looking forward to a great season.
What is the thing that you've been most impressed with your players between last season and the start of this season, or even the start of practice this year?
Just the maturity, the growth on that level, not having to call around and see where they're at when it's time to lift weights. And, we during the summer, we started practice at 5, and, 20 of the 26 that we had at the time was in the locker room at 3:30. They were ready to go. But that's what success does. You know, they won last year and they were able to taste it a little bit. Now they're hungry for more and they just want to do things to get better.
Well, and I think you have several guys on the team at this point who have post-high school aspirations and start playing college football and that kind of stuff. And I guess maybe that's part of what's going on too, that maturity of, I'm not a kid anymore and now I'm working toward my future.
I sit down and tell them every day, I tell Russell every day, this is it. Your scholarship started 2 months ago. Mm-hmm. We've contacted all the colleges. I've done what I'm supposed to do. Now you have to perform. Mm-hmm. So there's no room for the, immature stuff, being a prima donna. That's what I call him a lot, Madonna. He may come out one day and, he looks like Terrell Owens, and then the next day he may look like, I don't know.
Terrell Owens on other days.
Terrell Owens on other days.
In the same game sometimes.
In the same game. But he's I think Russell has it now.
Yeah.
I think it's clicked. I mean, the kid's 6'5" and weighs 185, 190 with a 7'2" wingspan. He could play receiver in college. They would work on his speed, but I would look for these colleges to probably groom him to be a tight end, maybe put 35, 40 pounds on him because he will block and he doesn't mind contact. So, then the twins, I tell the twins, hey, now is when these people are going to start really taking notice. Last year, who is this kid? Up at the state playoffs, the championship games, Chat Pennington let me know that after week 2, because Tyson didn't play week 1, after week 2, he started looking, on the stat lines for Tyson, and he was wanting to know who this kid was. Yeah. And we're standing in the tunnel waiting for the awards, and I just introduced him to Tyson, and he had no clue that Kenyon was his twin brother. And so Kenyon was there with him, and Kenyon walks by all of us, and he kind of looked at Tyson and looked at Kenyon. I was like, oh, yeah, Coach, I got 2 of them. And they mimic each other. Yeah. And again, Kenyon he's finally ready to step out of Tyson's shadow. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm just as good as my brother. So he's running hard. He's more of the vocal leader than Tyson is. Yeah. But Keaton Williams I've been the most impressed with his leadership. He's the one in the locker room. Hey guys, it's 10-5. We're supposed to be on the field. Let's go. Mm-hmm. When people want to take a break, he's the one that's kind of in their stuff. Hey, we're not going to win crying, or we can get water when we're done with this. And that's been big because we've not had a leader, and so he's showing that he wants to be that leader.
Well, and I guess for you as a coach, it makes it easier because now you got some people who are on the field who are kind of taking care of the business, so you can just worry about the coaching part of things.
Right. And, I was telling Tony a couple of weeks ago, he was asking me some questions, and, last year I felt like I had to do everything myself because I wanted it done a certain way, and I wanted to make sure it was done. But, it didn't take me long to delegate some of those duties to the other coaches and trust what they're doing. I hired them on the staff, so I know they're knowledgeable about the game, but that's made it a lot easier too.
Real quick before we get out of here, who are your assistant coaches this year?
We still have DJ Purcell, who is our defensive coordinator. Trey Hayes is he's actually my head assistant. Ricky Harper, Trevor Nichols, we call him Big Teddy. He's helped a lot. He's helped a lot too. Dwayne Hatcher, Brian Graves, Brandon Korn, and then Tim Gower is still going to help. But we have another new guy, Bo Thorpe. Bo played over at Grayson County in the 80s. And big fullback linebacker, just rough. And he brings some law enforcement experience with him. He was over the federal holding center, the jail over there. And the kids have really responded well to him. But those are going to be the core of the guys that's going to help me get it done.
All right. Well, that sounds good. Well, I will not be there Friday. John, my son, will be there Friday, so he'll be covering your game on Friday.
That's his government name. I have to call him Hoggy.
Yeah, that is his government name. Yeah, I know everybody on here who listens and knows. They're like, who?
Who's John?
His son named John? Yeah. Augie will be there on Friday.
Yes.
Government. Yes. All right. Well, good luck to you, Trevent.
All right. Thank you for having me on.
Good luck to the Colonels this year.
All right.